Hi everybody, it's Dawn Kuhn, the mental health mom. I hope you're having a great day today. I wanted to take a moment and jump online to have what I hope is going to be the first in a series that I'd like to call Candid Convos. Just candid conversations about various topics that we're experiencing along our mental health journey. And today's Candid Convo has to do with kind of things I learned this morning when talking to my boy's psychiatrist. Now let me back up. For those of you that have been following our journey, you know that we found out a few months ago that my sons were misdiagnosed and wrongfully medicated for about 5 years. One was misdiagnosed with ADHD and one was misdiagnosed as bipolar. So we are now on our journey to sort of correct the wrong that happened 5 years ago. Now we just found out that they do not have ADHD and do not have bipolar disorder at the end of May. So today was the very first time since I found out that my kids were misdiagnosed and wrongfully medicated that I actually got to sit in front of the psychiatrist that told me they had ADHD and told me they were bipolar and prescribed the medication. So I got to tell you, I tossed and turned a lot last night. Like, I was amped up about sitting in front of the psychiatrist. I couldn't wait to talk to her about all the things that I learned. And, I was thinking to myself, gosh, I hope we don't get into some kind of, verbal smackdown or something, because I had a lot to say. I had a lot to say about why were my kids wrongfully medicated and misdiagnosed all those years ago. So I was really kind of prepared for, I don't know, not a fight, not a physical fight, certainly. I've never hit anybody in my life, but just sort of a battle of the minds as to how we got to where we are right now with all these medications I've been pumping my kids full of the last 5 years. So I was kind of ready, but you know what? Here's the weird thing. I left kind of feeling sorry for her. I certainly went in, I had a big, thick folder full of stuff, and I was just ready to combat any argument that she had, but she didn't really have any, and that took me by surprise. So I thought I would jump on and share with you 4 or 5 things that I learned from my discussion with our psychiatrist today that I found very interesting. The first one is that she was completely unfamiliar with what a QEEG brain map test was. And I found that very interesting because the FDA actually approved the QEEG brain map as a testing device, an objective test to help in ADHD diagnosis. And yet, here's my psychiatrist who's very young, very knowledgeable, and yet never heard of this. So I'm a little surprised by that. She kind of had a deer in the headlights look, and in fact, she had an intern in with her today, and her intern eyes got about this big, and she started writing notes on her notepad, and I could tell that this whole QEEG brain mapping thing was something that she had never heard of, and that was kind of alarming to me. When I asked her about the behavioral vision portion of our journey, and there's some videos and articles if you look on my Facebook page, Mental Health Mom, regarding that. But when I asked her about that, here's what she said. She said, yeah, I've heard something about that behavioral vision therapy. Like, it's no big deal, but I've heard something about it. Some of my clients have talked about it. Yet, in the DSM-V, which stands for, and these are big words, so I have to read them, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, which is the most current one, it mentions that when you're going through the ADHD testing process, the psychiatrist should be aware of and look for any learning disabilities, any auditory or visual disabilities. Now, in my case, my son that was misdiagnosed with ADHD was behind in every developmental milestone there was. He was late to crawl. He was late to walk. He was late to speak. All kinds of learning disabilities that were mentioned, and yet no further discussion ever happened. It was kind of like, nope, it's ADHD. This is the situation. Here's the medication. So it was really alarming to me, now that I've had time to do all this research, that it's actually recommended that psychiatrists dig deeper to find out about learning disabilities, auditory and visual, handicaps, if you will, or, if there's anything not functioning right in that area. And yet she never heard of the behavioral vision testing to test the vision portion of it. That was alarming to me. Another alarming thing I learned today when I was talking to my psychiatrist was she was very quick to point out that psychiatry and neurology are not related. They don't go together. Chemical imbalances, which is kind of what psychiatry tends to deal with, and believe me, I know that there really are people out there with chemical imbalances who really do need the medications. And this video has nothing to do with those people at all. More power to you. They need it, and the psychiatrists provide a wonderful service. My concern is the number of misdiagnoses that are happening and how many kids out there are misdiagnosed, mismedicated. And I think part of that comes from the belief in that field that psychiatry and neurology are not related at all. She even went so far as to say chemical imbalances are not the same as brain issues. So if you have a chemical imbalance, it's not the same thing as having an issue with the brain, when in fact it is. What causes the chemical imbalance is the way the brain is firing. So they're very much related. You can't say, okay, certain disorders are about chemical imbalances in the brain, and then say that those chemical imbalances in the brain have nothing to do with brain function. I mean, that's just logically doesn't make any sense. I'm not a super smart mom, but I'm a kind of okay smart mom, and that just logically doesn't make any sense. But that was the way she was raised, trained, educated, whatever word you want to use. As a psychiatrist, it's kind of like, we don't play with those kids over there. We're in our own group, if you will. We don't play well together in the sandbox. Psychiatry is one thing, the chemical imbalances are one thing, and the way the brain functions is another, when in fact they really kind of go together like peanut butter and jelly, if you ask me. So I was very shocked. She said that she wished there was more synergy between these two areas and, these two types of doctors, but there's not. And that was very alarming to me as well, because again, in my brain, in my little mama bear brain that's trying to sort through all this, they really go together like peanut butter and jelly. The next thing that I learned today when I was talking to my psychiatrist that was interesting to me was she said that she really has no time to investigate any other methods other than medications, other than medicating people that come in. She said, look, we're understaffed. The whole psychiatry industry is understaffed. We're forced to book appointments 15 minutes apart. I mean, when we go in, we have a 15-minute appointment. Now, I'm fortunate in that I go in with two boys, so I have a 30-minute appointment for both, but they book in 15-minute increments, which is crazy. I mean, I can't even say hello in 15 minutes. I mean, I can't even, hug a friend and catch up in 15 minutes. And you're supposed to be able to get a complete picture of my child's mental health in 15 minutes. She said it's crazy. She said there's a wait list to get in because the industry is so understaffed. And she said we only have time to ask a few questions and then make adjustments to medications. She said, I wish that we had more time to talk about other options, but we just don't. And I thought to myself, so, part of the reason why my kids were wrongfully medicated is because the industry is so understaffed that we're booking in 15-minute increments, and all they have time to do is ask a couple questions and peddle the pills. I mean, that's really what I felt like. She said that she wished that she could study other areas, like behavioral vision, like neurofeedback, but and spend time seeing if non-medication options were available for some of her patients. She said she's thought about it, and with certain patients, she's like, well, I'll notice that they're not tracking right, which is a behavioral vision issue. Or I'll notice this, or I'll notice that. She said, but we're not really encouraged to pursue that. And I thought to myself, what? you notice that a kid is not tracking right with their eyes, and you're not encouraged to tell the client that maybe they ought to go check out behavioral vision therapy. I mean, what? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I looked at her point blank and I said, it's because everything is really, kind of run by the drug companies, right? And it was not denied. There was total silence. She kind of gave me one of those looks like, I wish I could answer, but I can't, which sort of said it all. And boy, that was just shocking. I mean, it just got the fire in my belly going. I mean, it's just insanity. I don't even know who I'm mad at anymore. I don't know if I'm mad at our physicians, our primary physician who originally sent us to the psychiatrist. I don't know if I'm mad at the psychiatrist. I don't know if I'm mad at any particular doctor on the team. I mean, I know that none of them acted in any sort of, malice or purposely tried to misdiagnose, but I don't know if I'm mad at the lawmakers. I don't know. I don't even know who I'm mad at anymore. And what a horrible feeling as a mom to have all these questions and not know where to go to get the answers. Like, who should have told me about these tests? Who should have told me that there were options available to me to confirm the diagnoses that my kids were given before I made the gut-wrenching decision to medicate them? So I don't even know where to look anymore. I mean, it was really frustrating to sit through and listen to all of this and not know what to do with the information. I know that looking back won't do any good. That's not going to solve any problems. So I am laser focused on the future and doing everything I can to try and make a difference. I mean, I am just one mom, right? Like, I have a busy life. I'm homeschool. Like, there's all kinds of things going on, and I'm just one mom. But I tell you what, I will fight until my dying breath to make a difference. This is just insane. We can't fix the past, but we certainly can change what our future looks like in the area of what's going on in our brain, the most complex organ in our body. Laws need to be changed regarding mental health. I've said this in multiple videos. It should be the law that especially minors have these sorts of tests before psychiatrists are allowed or authorized to give these kids these mind-altering drugs, these narcotics. We need to change the standard of care practices. We owe our kids and ourselves as adults, I mean, really everybody, but I'm uber focused on the kids right now. We owe our kids and our adults every single chance at obtaining a proper diagnosis. All non-drug related options should be exhausted first, like behavioral vision testing, like the QEEG testing, brain mapping, like I'm sure there's a whole host of other ones that I don't even know about yet. But every non-drug oriented, non-evasive thing that can be done to confirm a diagnosis and offer a treatment should be done before we medicate ourselves or our kids. I don't understand why this is such a unique concept. Like, why is this not happening already? Why are our lawmakers not furious at what is going on in the mental health industry? We've got all these kids shooting up schools, and all anybody wants to talk about is taking away guns. Well, how were they diagnosed? How do we know they weren't misdiagnosed and acting on the horrific side effects of the drugs they've been on? I mean, how do we know these things? We need reform, and we need it now. And I will fight till my last dying breath to help and get it. We also need to remove the stigma associated, I can't even talk today, associated with mental health disorders. Because, the reality is we're all human. We all are made in God's image. We all have our crosses to bear, and those with mental health disorders have exceptionally big crosses to bear. And we need to do everything we can, even if you don't have a child with a mental health disorder, to make sure that you're spreading the word about mental health disorders in a positive way and being a force of change. You can change the dialogue in your neighborhood cul-de-sac. If there's someone on the street who's autistic, you can change the dialogue in the way you interact with teachers at school. You can change the dialogue with the doctors that you talk to. You can change the dialogue with your friends at church. with your book club, with your high school girlfriends that you hang out with once a quarter. Every person you come in contact with, you can change the stigma that exists. I just wanted to jump on. I know I'm a little scatterbrained today, but I was so taken back by my meeting with the psychiatrist this morning that I just wanted to share what I learned. We're never going to make any significant difference until the standard of care practices are changed. And the ones that are in existence, like I talked about, in investigating learning disabilities and auditory and visual difficulties before making an ADHD diagnosis, wasn't done in my case, and yet it's in the, let me see, I wrote that down, what do you call it? The DSM-B, which is like the Bible for the psychiatrist industry. So, it's got to change. And please help me help others by passing this video along. Please share it. Even if you don't have a child with a mental health disorder, pass it to everyone that you can so that we can work together on trying to make some real positive change, because it was so evident today when I went to talk to the psychiatrist and I told her that she had wrongfully diagnosed my kids, that she was in awe. She just didn't know. She wished she could help. She was empathetic, but she is encouraged not to do anything but ask a few questions and adjust meds. She's encouraged not to associate with other fields regarding the brain because they can't possibly relate, when in fact, on the most basic level, they do. And the only way it's going to change is if we all get together and make one big honkin' stink. And I'm going to do my part to do that. Okay, enough rambling. Just wanted to jump on and share that information with you today. We are looking forward to getting our first brain map since we started neurofeedback on Thursday. I'll have the results on Friday. We're about 25% of the way through our neurofeedback treatment. So hopefully we'll see about 25% change in the way the brain is looking, and we'll begin to be able to start weaning our kids off of medication. So I'll hop on when we get those results. In the meantime, stay the course. Hugs to all the mamas out there that are struggling. I hope you have a great day, and until next time, take care. Bye-bye.